Jacob tried his hardest, using all his nature essence to counter the power of the 5 mountains bracelets that he wore. He continued to run. Faster! Susan yelled as she took out her short bat and poked Jacob in the back. The pain of the poke went through Jacob's body. It was unbearable. However, that pain also unleashed his potential to run faster. Now, Jacob realized that Susan was not just poking him for fun. Instead, every poke went through an acupoint, helping him grow stronger. Just like the unbearable pain that one must endure going from the first level to the second level, then from the second level to the third level, and finally reaching the fourth level. The pain he endured was immense. However, he understood that to reach a higher level, he must endure a greater amount of pain. If one cannot persevere, one cannot become a strong cultivator. This was the heavenly rule that everyone must follow. In the beginning, Susan had low expectations for Jacob. However, his performance made her believe in him. The dragon core in Jacob's body was spinning rapidly under the bracelet's pressure. The bracelets had suppressed the power of the dragon core, which stimulated the nature essence within his body. Jacob cultivated all 5 elemental essences simultaneously. Others, who only circulated 1 or 2 elements, would not be able to endure the pressure of the 5 mountains bracelets on the elemental essences they hadn't cultivated. However, Jacob had all 5 elemental essences, so he was able to manage the pressure of all the elements. Yet, the pressure stimulated his body and his dragon core. The wonder of these bracelets was that they had a fine balance of all 5 elements. There was a delicate balance of the 5 elements in Jacob's body as well. Another opening appeared on his dragon core, and Jacob's nature essence slowly flowed out of the opening. However, the leaking nature essence was quickly sealed by the bracelets. Jacob took half a step with his left foot and another half step with his right foot. Following the fundamental boxing technique he learned, he stepped into position and focused the nature essence in his palm, flowing it directly to his head. The spiritual core that had originally been sleeping in the acupoint right below his dragon core was quickly awakened. The power that Darius had accumulated in his 1,000 years of training was all within it. This was the energy of top-tier 8th level. The 5 mountain bracelets, which were in Jacob's arms, legs, and neck, let out a dim, warm light. White, green, blue, red, and yellow. Just when Susan was about to use her short bat on Jacob again, she couldn't believe what she was seeing with her eyes. The lights released by the 5 mountains bracelets signaled that it was about to be set free. It can't be. How could Jacob reach the top-tier 8th level already? Susan thought. However, the signals displayed by the treasure told no lies. Suddenly, the lights darkened. Jacob was exhausted and almost fell to his feet. Susan's eyes opened wide, but they slowly returned to normal. If Jacob had broken free from the bracelets, Susan would have been deeply impressed and shocked by his ability. There was only one way for the 5 mountain bracelets to be broken. One had to reach the top-tier 8th level. Hurry up! Susan took out her short bat and hit Jacob on his back again. Jacob yelled in pain as he continued to run. Although Jacob felt like he was having a small breakthrough, it only appeared in a flash unexpectedly. He wasn't able to increase his understanding of the spiritual core. He only got one more opening on his dragon core. No matter how much pain Jacob displayed on his face, Susan kept a cold expression on hers. She knew deep down that the perseverance Jacob had was no weaker than hers. Otherwise, he would have given up a long time ago, and she wouldn't have stopped him from giving up either. Due to his continuous battle with the bracelets, Jacob slowly became accustomed to them. Learning the rhythm, the sound of his steps became louder. A delicate array formation connected the 5 mountain bracelets, and this array formation would have a split-second pause every second. If Jacob could take advantage of that split-second pause by controlling and using his nature essence precisely, he still got a chance. The opportunities Susan had to poke Jacob with her short bat had decreased. The opportunities Susan had to poke Jacob with her short bat decreased as Jacob slowly ran farther ahead of her by himself. Just as the first class of the day was about to begin, Susan and Jacob reached the road near the college. The students that were on their way to college witnessed the sight of Jacob and Susan running. Jacob was wearing a Hawaiian outfit, looking completely out of place. Anyone from miles away could see him in those bright colors. Susan wasn't a figure who was easy to approach. Therefore, they couldn't imagine how difficult it would be to have the chance to run with her in the morning. Susan breathed out slowly, as she had no problem maintaining her running speed while leading Jacob to the entrance of the university. The air seemed to smell like flowers as she passed by. Jacob didn't want to enter the university like this by creating such a big scene. However, he couldn't handle Susan's poking with her short bat, so he obeyed her orders and followed her to the administrative building. Amongst those students at the entrance, there were not only ordinary students but also a select group of students, young dragon cultivators. They were very envious as they saw Susan and Jacob slowly fade into the horizon. It was almost time for the general exams at the Dragon God Shrine. It would be great to have an official inspector like Susan to be one's personal coach. "That's all for the day," Susan jogged to the front entrance of the administrative building and said. "Great." Jacob nodded frantically. A 12-mile run. In the past, even though Jacob hadn't started cultivating at this time, he could finish the run without any problems, with his title as a long-distance runner in high school. Now, a 12-mile run was as difficult as crossing mountains and rivers for Jacob. His shorts and t-shirts were completely soaked in sweat. In contrast, Susan seemed very relaxed. Although her face was slightly flushed, she did not sweat at all. She looked as good as she would if she had arrived in an air-conditioned car. Within an hour, Jacob had mastered the rhythm of the 5 mountain bracelets and can control his nature essence accurately. With this achievement in mind, Jacob walked out of the building. The 5 mountain bracelets sealed off 60% of Jacob's nature essence. However, if Jacob could control his nature essence well and use the split-second pause in the array formations of the bracelets each second, he could smoothly utilize the remaining 40% of his nature essence. It was similar to controlling the flow of water that would stall for a split second every second before it started flowing again. Although it seemed like these bracelets were just one more thing to be worried about, this practice could drastically improve one's skill in controlling nature essence. Jacob even suspected that Susan might have been wearing 5 mountain bracelets herself. From the fact that she insisted on jogging every morning, did not like to fight with people, and did not bother to walk around on campus, it seemed like Susan was wearing 5 mountain bracelets that limit her nature essence. If that was true, Susan only showed a part of her true strength. Susan wanted to reach the heavenly dragon realm. Things that were not related to the elevation of realms were useless to Susan. Therefore, she would not waste any time. The last heavenly dragon appeared a few hundred years ago. The super strong cultivators who remained on the land in First Heaven all wanted to become the next heavenly dragon. Kenneth wanted that, and so did Susan. Susan wanted the supreme power. Kenneth wanted to demonstrate his might. They wanted to see who could reach the heavenly dragon realm first. Susan gave up battling and improved her realm through cultivation. Kenneth, on the other hand, must have been strengthening himself through insane battles right now somewhere. Although the two of them were on different paths, they both had the same goal, and that was to reach the heavenly dragon realm, which was beyond 8th level. Heavenly Dragon Realm. As Jacob thought about that, he used some of his nature essence and started running away from the campus.